his advice, Gandhi undertook a long journey throughout India, a sort of Bharat Darshan, to acquaint himself with conditions in India. Gandhi noticed a great deal of political consciousness, but at the same time he saw that the average Indian was timid and submissive, that society was divided and superstitious, that the country was poor and exploited, and that the villagers were as neglected and desolate as before. After educating himself on Indian realities, when he did decide to enter the political arena, he did so having made a final decision: for the people, with the people. It was easy for the masses to understand Gandhi because he spoke their language. He lived as they lived, dressed as they did, and so they identified with him. By Satya, he meant not only truth, but justice. By Ahimsa, he meant not only non-violence, but love for all living things. Gandhi's doctrine of Satyagraha was first tested in the Champaran district of Bihar. He was invited to inquire into the grievances of agriculturalists who were forced to cultivate indigo by oppressive and corrupt planters. First, Gandhi talked to the planters, against whom there was clear evidence of corruption. Once their confidence was won over, Gandhiji got their full cooperation in abolishing the oppressive system of indigo plantation. So it was that the workers of Bihar and in other parts of India came to realize the importance of Gandhi's insistence on negotiation instead of confrontation.
When Gandhiji informed the district magistrate that he would be visiting a village 25 kilometers away from Motihari, summons was served on Gandhiji asking him to appear in the court of the sub-divisional magistrate the next day. The news that Gandhiji was willing to go to jail for the sake of the oppressed peasantry of Bihar reached the remotest of Champaran villages. Next day, 18th of April, over 2,000 farmers converged on Motihari. The government leader requested for postponement of the case, but Gandhiji wanted to plead guilty for having disobeyed the orders to leave Champaran. He read a brief statement which said, "I have disregarded the orders served upon me, not for want of respect for lawful authority, but in obedience to the higher law of our being, the voice of conscience."
Over the next 7 decades, the movement saw numerous national and regional campaigns, some non-violent and others not, consolidating, slowly uniting the entire nation and the people in their march to freedom. Gandhiji started civil disobedience with his Satyagrah, targeting the British salt tax. Through the 1882 Salt Act, the British maintained a monopoly in the collection and manufacture of salt, limiting its handling and imposing a tax on it. Even though salt was freely available to those living on the coast, trying to collect salt from the sea and not paying the British tax was a criminal offense. On the morning of 12th March 1930, Gandhi left the Sabarmati ashram to defy the Salt Act. Such a mass procession had never been seen in the history of the nation. People from all walks of life participated in it as an act of revolt. A week before the march, Vallabhbhai Patel had been arrested. Gandhiji himself expected to be arrested, though each day ended without this. After 24 days and 241 miles, on the 5th of April, Gandhiji reached Dandi. Early next day, accompanied by Sarojini Naidu and 200 followers, he walked to the sea and picked up a fistful of salt, breaking the Salt Act. His act of defiance became a benchmark for the whole nation to follow. A spark, long awaited, galvanized the people. The Salt Satyagrah saw the large-scale involvement of women from across India. They came out in one voice for Swaraj. And on the 5th of May, Gandhiji was arrested. Before the year was over, more than 60,000 Indians had joined him in jail.
Considering the terrible plight of the common people, Gandhi decided to defy the imposition of a tax on salt, the basic need of human beings. This led to the famous Salt March to Dandi. This mass movement of people for a cause became symbolic of an entire nation on the march to freedom.